If you're wondering how Social Security is taxed, I can assure you, you are not alone. Welcome to the club with the rest of us. And that's why I made today's video. I'm going to share two examples to hopefully clear up a lot of the confusion. And I want to start off by sharing it's confusing for us because, frankly, the rules have changed during our lifetimes. When Social Security was started in the mid-1930s, for the first 50 years, it was not taxed at all. And then in 1983, Congress changed the rules and said that up to half of your Social Security benefit can be included in taxable income. And then in 1993, they changed the rules again and said up to 85% of your Social Security can be included in taxable income. Now, I do have people that say, Azul, I've heard that my Social Security is going to be taxed at 85%. It is not going to be. That's not how it works. It's up to 85% of your Social Security benefit can be included in your taxable income. So let's jump into these examples and I'll share some more. Okay, the first thing we need to talk about is what Social Security calls provisional income. Now stay with me, it sounds complicated, but it's not. You basically take your normal taxes, adjusted gross income, and Social Security says put in half of your total Social Security payments, so add that into your AGI, and then also include any interest that you might receive on non-federally taxable income. For most of us, that would be municipal bonds if you have them. Now, when Congress passed this law in 1983, and they said 50%, up to 50% as Social Security benefit can be included in taxable income, they put in a limit on that. And back in 1983, these were pretty healthy limits. Not many people were subject to this tax, which of course is how they got paid without getting, how they got it passed without getting kicked out of office. So the limits were a married couple filing jointly could make up to $32,000 a year, this provisional income that I just talked about, and not have any of their Social Security included in their taxable income. And if you're a single, it's $25,000. And then in 1993, Congress passed a new law that said, hey, if you're making more than $44,000 a year, married filing jointly, that up to 85% of your Social Security benefit can be included in your taxable income. And if you're single, that's $34,000. Okay, I know those are a lot of numbers, and I want to share, I'm going to go through these examples, but in the show notes for this video, I include a link to a website that the IRS has. It's an online calculator, and you put in your data, and the IRS, actually, it's the IRS website. The IRS will say this is how much of your Social Security you need to include, the dollar amount, and they'll even tell you which box in your tax form that you have to fill it out. But I want you to understand how this works. So again, we're looking at this provisional income. Another term you might hear is combined income. So you take your adjusted income, which adjusted gross income, which for most of us would be, if we're working for a corporation, we've got a W-2, maybe we've got dividend income coming in from some stocks that we hold. Maybe we have a rental property that's going to be tossed in there depending on how that's classified. So all of your normal income tax, and importantly, do not include your Social Security benefit in there. And now we're going to add on to it half of our Social Security benefit. And that's if you're married filing jointly, that would be half of what you and your spouse are getting from Social Security, assuming you're both getting it. And then we're going to add on any interest income that we receive that's not subject for federal income tax. Again, that's probably municipal bonds. Okay, so let's go through an example. Let's say we have somebody, husband and wife are retired, or spouses, I should say, sorry. Spouses are retired. They're working a couple little part-time jobs here and there just for fun. And in my town, sometimes people work at the ski resort when they're retired. So let's say they're making $10,000, their AGI is $10,000 from W-2 income. They're each collecting $15,000 a year in Social Security, so a total of $30,000, and they get $1,000 a year in municipal bond interest. That's not taxed at the federal level. So again, we're gonna add in that $10,000. This is to calculate the provisional income. Then we're gonna take half of that married couple's total Social Security. So instead of $30,000, we're gonna take half of that, which is $15,000, and we're gonna add in $1,000 for that interest that they receive that's not normally wouldn't be subject to federal tax. And so when you add that together, you get $26,000. So that's the provisional income, and because that's below the $32,000 threshold, guess what? None of the Social Security is going to be included when they calculate their taxable income, okay? So that's the first one. That's the simple one. That's what we're all hoping for, right? That we don't have to include Social Security. Let me give you an example of where you do have to include Social Security as your taxable income. So in this case, we've got a couple that's making decent money. They're doing better than a part-time job. Let's say their AGI is $60,000. They're both still making $15,000 a year in Social Security, which would actually be below the average in the United States. The average Social Security check in the United States is a little over $1,700, but I'm just using easy math here. So AGI of $60,000, their Social Security is $15,000 each, and now they've also got more municipal bond interest. Let's call it $12,000. So we take the $60,000, we take half of their combined Social Security, which is $15,000, and then we add in $12,000. So we get a total of $87,000, which is above, for married filing jointly, the $32,000 and the $44,000 limit. So now it's looking like they're gonna have 85% of their Social Security included in their taxable income. And that's exactly right. They're gonna have to include that amount, but remember, it's 85%, not of the provisional income that we just calculated, but it's 85% of their Social Security. Their total Social Security payment is $30,000. So they're gonna have to include $25,500 in their tax report. They're gonna have to include that portion of their Social Security. Of the $30,000 that they received as a couple, they're gonna have to include $25,500 on their tax form. So it's important to note that this is just how you calculate the federal tax. It's not the state tax. Believe it or not, only 11 states tax Social Security. And I'll include a link where you can find that in the show description as well. It's also important to note that this is not tax advice. I am not an accountant. I don't know your situation, but I wanted to walk you through this example and help you better understand. You're not unusual that many of us don't know how Social Security is taxed, and B, give you a feel for how to determine it. Again, look at the Social Security, look at the IRS website where they walk you through, you put in your data and they'll tell you how much to include in your taxable income. And I also want you to watch this video here where I talk about reasons that people take Social Security early. So I'll see you in there. Thanks for watching this video. Bye-bye.